Welcome to the Marriage Counselor's Corner. Right this way. Your therapist will see you shortly. In the meantime, sit back, kick your feet up on the couch, and get ready to focus on adding very valuable tools to your marriage toolkit. And now your host and marriage counselor, David Taylor.
What's up, guys? Guess what? I'm back. That's right. I am back. My name is David Taylor, and I am your host. Yes, it is true. I am back in the booth, finally. After taking off probably, half a year, more than half a year now. I'm here, y'all. I'm here. I promise I'm alive. Everything is going well. And I promise you, I have been very, very, very busy. This is good, though. I'm not the same person that I was since the last episode. For starters, you can now officially call me Dr. David Taylor. Yes, I successfully defended my dissertation in January, and then I graduated this past May with my doctorate. I finally have that busy and demanding doctorate program behind me, y'all. That's why I'm back, and I'm energized, and I'm focused. And guess what? We have also rebranded our primary marriage-related business from Mastering Marriage to the Mastering Marriage Institute. And that in and of itself is a huge undertaking, as I have also updated all of our websites. See, I got some stuff for you with some new additions that many of you will be excited to learn about. So stick around for details on that later. So yes, I'm here, y'all. I missed y'all. I've gotten tons and tons and tons of messages, even negative reviews about my absence. Okay, so that tells me that I should have been back a long time ago. So I appreciate y'all holding me accountable. Yes, I'm here. Now, some of you may be wondering, okay, why the Mastering Marriage Institute? Why did we rebrand it? Well, you guys have heard me talk about this before, but it's my passion to be the premier resource on marriage enrichment and education. I want to provide more resources to enrich your marriage and to educate your marriage. So it is only natural that we take this next leap in our evolution. Now, be sure to listen out for more updates in this space as we go on, because I'll share with you more updates on that. But I'm here. I'm back. And now that I've reintroduced myself, let's get to the reason that you came here to begin with. Let's talk about the Marriage Counselor's Corner podcast. Now, if you are a normal listener, or if you're new, just know that this is the place where you get credible and tangible marriage-related information from a licensed mental health counselor and doctor. Over the past 2 decades of my clinical experience, I've discovered some things, a lot of things actually, that work to make your marriage healthy. So I want you to see these episodes as a masterclass in marriage, where I take a psychological and practical approach to marriage education and enrichment. And this is episode number 29. And in today's episode, in today's session, in today's meeting, I will be discussing a topic that it took me a while to develop due to how complex and deep it is. Actually, this is a topic that's been revolving, a theme that's been revolving in many of my sessions over the last few months. Usually when there is a constant theme that comes up, I lean into it to see what else is there. And in doing so, I discovered Tim Fletcher's teachings on shame and was amazed with his presentation on these ideas. So I'll be referencing him throughout the course of my teachings today. And in today's session, again, episode number 29, I will be discussing shame. Now, more specifically, because I need y'all to listen. More specifically, I will be discussing what shame is, where it comes from, and how shame impacts the way people show up in their marriages. Now, this information is weighty and pretty dense. It's a lot there. However, I will attempt to deconstruct it in a manner that is tangible and easily understood. Now, although this information is for your marriage, this information is mainly for you, the spouse, as most people bring their shame with them into their marriage. In all actuality, most people are married to their shame. That's right. You heard that correctly. Now, before you disqualify yourself into thinking that this topic has nothing to do with you, just stick around a little. You just might be pleasantly surprised. First off, shame is not merely an emotion. Oh, and y'all, we got started. We already started, okay? So just go ahead and get your pen and pad because we're going to dive in today. So, but anyway, shame is not merely an emotion. Actually, shame is a core belief. Shame is less about how you feel and more about what and how you think about yourself. Shame is a core belief that you often won't be aware of. It lurks in the shadows of our subconscious and our conscious, but it's lurking, but it's in the shadows. So you ain't going to see it. See, shame can be defined as a skewed sense of self. It is about seeing yourself as not lovable, not valuable, not good enough, or less than. It affects how you see your identity. Now, speaking of core beliefs are beliefs and thoughts that happen on an automatic and subconscious level. These are thoughts that frame and shape how you interact with the world around you. And these are thoughts that ultimately influence how you show up inside of your marriage. More on that in a bit. See, I need to take the time to go through this because some of you, probably a lot of y'all, if we're being honest, will most likely disqualify yourself because on the surface, you think that you're good enough. You go to church, you quote your scriptures, and you speak your affirmations, you smile at yourself in the mirror, you appear optimistic, you feed the homeless, and thus you believe that shame has no hold on you. That is, until I start asking questions. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. See, the main point here, though, is that shame is not easy to pick up on in most people because we have an instinctual drive to be seen as altruistic. We want to be seen as good enough, even when we don't believe it. So we cover the shame with muscles, with a full beard, with fake eyelashes, with makeup, with BBLs, with name brands and Instagram filters. We hide it well, y'all. We do. We do a good job of hiding it well. However, there is one place where I have found shame to be exposed the most. That place is inside of your marriage. I have found that if you have shame, it will most certainly show up inside of your marriage. Now, before I can get to that, it's important for me to speak briefly on where shame comes from. And for this, I will be referencing Tim Fletcher's teachings because of how concise they are. First of all, shame happens as a result of us not getting what we should have gotten during the formative years of our childhoods. The formative years are the first 7 to 8 years of a child's life. How the child experiences these years sets the stage for how they will experience the rest of their lives. So think of these first 7 to 8 years of your life as the foundation that holds up all of the rest of your life. That means, y'all, that you never will truly deviate from the path of thinking and feeling that you developed during these first 7 to 8 years. And I know that sounds weird, but walk with me, okay? Just stay with me. I got you. There's more to see here, y'all. Let's go a little deeper. To add to that, if you have dealt with trauma during those years, you will most likely have shame issues to some extent. Now, I know I'm using the word issues, so again, some of you guys will try to disqualify yourselves, but just stick with me for a little while, please, just for a little while. I know I ain't been around in a minute, so some of y'all don't know me that well, but just walk with me. Now, if you have dealt with complex trauma, the chances of you struggling with shame goes even higher. Again, before you disqualify yourself, I want you to think of trauma as something that happens inside of you after something happens to you. I say this because most people only think of complex trauma when they hear the word trauma. And complex trauma are things like abuse of any kind, molestation, abandonment, divorce, illnesses, death, accidents, or injuries. It could even be things like bullying, right? But there are other things that are treated as traumatic that perhaps were more discreet. Again, try not to disqualify yourself here. Instead, let's see what is true for you with what I am about to share, because we're going to talk about some of these things. Think of it from this angle. All babies, all babies, come into this world looking to be loved. It is inherent in who we are as humans. As we mature into our childhood, this desire to be loved shifts into questions that we often ask. See, we want to be desired. We want to have value. We want to feel good enough. We want someone to have a relationship with us. We want to feel connected. But keep in mind, these aren't questions that a child will verbalize. Rather, they are looking for evidences to answer these questions. They are looking to the mirrors of their life to answer those unasked questions. Usually, those initial questions sound something like this. Do I have value? And how much value do I have? Do I matter? Do I have anything to offer? Am I lovable? Am I desirable? Am I important? Am I significant? Am I good? Now, again, they will not verbalize these questions because often these are kids, these are children, right? So they may not even have the words to say, but these are things that are thought and felt. And instead, they are looking for the answers reflected back to them by the mirrors of their lives. So those mirrors begin with mom and dad, right? Your guardians, how they treated you as a child, how they communicated to you as a child. All those things mirrored back to you whether you had value and if you were lovable. In a healthy home, the child will get a healthy reflection mirrored back to them. They may get a message that they have great inherent value, that love is not predicated on what you do, but rather who you are. But in an unhealthy home, they get the opposite. They learn that feeling loved is about performance, about presentation, or progress. That to be worthy of your parents' love means that you have to earn it. They learn love is conditional. Now, this isn't just the extremes though. So here are some very discreet ways to get back a negative reflection from your parents or those closest to you. Because sometimes it's not just about the parents, it's about siblings and other people that are also influential in your childhood. See if anything that I'm about to list resonates with what you experienced while growing up. Remember, I want you to qualify yourself, not disqualify yourself. So instead of trying to find out how this is not true, I want you to ask yourself, in what ways is or are these things true? Okay, so here are a few things. I want to see what resonates. And these are things that you will get mirrored back from you. You may have gotten mirrored back from you from your parents. So if you shared your opinion and you were laughed at or not taken seriously, this perhaps communicated that you were stupid or lacked anything of value to contribute. If you were belittled, like being told that you would never amount to anything, you are a failure, you are always doing wrong things, being clumsy or embarrassing, that could have also reflected back to you that something was wrong with you. If you were compared to other family members or individuals who they saw as successful, if you were blamed for your parents' problems, if you were not allowed to express your emotions or communicate your thoughts, right? If you grew up in the 80s, you probably heard this. Kids should be seen, not heard, right? If you had to deal with a parent or parents not following through on their words or promises. I promise I'm going to come visit you today. And today ends up becoming a week. Or you're sitting on the porch waiting for a parent to show up and they never showed up, right? That's another reflection that you probably got. More are if there was a lack of discipline or healthy boundaries, or if there was neglect or emotionally unavailable parents, perhaps due to working too much, due to their own issues, due to illnesses, due to having too many kids, due to divorce, alcoholism, drug use, right? All those things. If your parents or caregivers were all about image and presentation. Also, this could come from having parents who only rewarded you when you achieved something, or if you were constantly criticized. Another one is if there was a lack of nurturing or affection or validation. Maybe your parents' value system also reflected a message. See, I have worked with teens who were in perfectly healthy shape, but developed an eating disorder due to one of their parents being, either thin or imposing this value on them about their body image. Here's another one that I've personally experienced, and this was me, David, going to school when I was a kid and having to wear my sister's boyfriend's hand-me-down clothes while everybody else got to wear their new clothes during, that first week of school when everybody's wearing their new clothes and shoes. I got the hand-me-down clothes. That's another thing that could have contributed to shame. Another one is abandonment. See, Tim Fletcher says that this sends perhaps the greatest message of shame and self-worth. So if you were abandoned, if you were adoption or in the adoption system, that's another huge contributor to having a negative self-reflection. Also, not being able to make a distinction between who the child is and what they do. See, in a healthy family, the child can do something bad or something wrong, but still be loved and not seen as a bad child. On the flip side, with shame, a child can do something bad and is treated as a bad child. In some cases, the parents will even withhold love, attention, or validation from that child when they do something wrong. Right? So I want you to listen to those things, and maybe some of those resonated with your experience while growing up. Those are things that can contribute to shame. Think of the difference between guilt and shame as guilt is, I do something wrong, so I feel wrong. Whereas shame says, I did something wrong, so I am a bad person or I'm a wrong person, right? That's the difference between guilt and shame. Now, these things, the things that I just mentioned from your parents, these things will send a message to you, a reflection to you about your worth. The child will tend to use these reflections as a way to answer the questions that they already are asking themselves about self-worth, value, and whether or not they are lovable. So that's just the parent mirror. There's a lot of mirrors. I'm just going to give you a few, right? Here's another mirror that also reflects back to the child. And at this point, maybe the teenager, images about their self-worth. A major mirror is Hollywood culture and social media, right? There are constant messages on beauty standards and attraction and desire that are perpetuated in the media. And these standards are often captured by us regular individuals as what normal should be. So we look at what they're doing as celebrities with all the money and the makeup and resources and means, and then we say, well, wait, even though I'm normal, I should be at that standard, or I should look that way, or my body should be shaped that way. Nah, bruh, you ain't got that kind of money and those resources, right? See, physical attraction is celebrated. This is why for many women, they won't go outside without their faces on. Okay, not all y'all, okay, don't get on me. I just got to speak my truth, okay? Or for many guys, they want to portray the illusion of strength and bravado. So go to any gym and you're going to see a bunch of guys convincing themselves by looking in the literal mirror that they are strong enough, right? And they have this idea that this equals self-worth. Okay, so that's another major mirror, Hollywood culture. This is why, like if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, all the action heroes had muscles, right? They all were strong. Think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, right? These are guys that when you looked at them in Rambo or these movies that portrayed these super action heroes, they all had muscles and strength and chiseled jaws, right? This is what they looked like. That was the illusion of attraction. That's another mirror. Another mirror, another massive mirror, is the school and education system. Heck, the whole grading system is performance-based. It's a performance-based metric. And I'm not saying that it is not useful, but let's be clear. We all want to be seen as the smart kids, the ones capable of getting straight A's. And A's make us feel competent. C's, D's, and F's don't. I remember growing up in grade school getting free McDonald's vouchers for being on the honor roll. I felt smart, and the school reinforced that, right? But those who didn't achieve that honor roll, well, guess what? They were beneath me. It was literally called the honor roll, or in some cases, the dean's list. I made the list, right? I had one client graduate at the head of her class in high school because she felt that this would get her family to love her more, only to find herself feeling unfulfilled after achieving that milestone. Her shame was reinforced even after getting a high GPA. Also, social groups in school become a mirror that impacts the child's self-concept. So that's another mirror to look into. Another major mirror that we're going to talk about a little bit is the church. Don't crucify me. I'm here to speak truth. I know my purpose, okay? But the church is another massive mirror. See, some of you guys have dealt with shame because of church hurt. You went to the church looking to find a loving God, only to find a God, little g God, who judged you for the way you talked, for how scripturally inept you were, for the fact that you didn't give enough on your tithes and offerings, or you missed your 6 a.m. prayer call. Some of you gave your pastor permission to shame blame you because you didn't give to the building fund, or you didn't lift your hands high enough during praise and worship. Some of you felt the pressure to fit into a church culture that was established on the foundation of fake and phony. And I hear all the stories, all the horror stories, y'all. I hear them. You weren't allowed to be your true self at church, and thus you left feeling unseen, unclean, and an outcast. More on that in a bit.
Let's be honest, marriage can be hard. Even good couples hit rough seasons where communication breaks down, trust is shaken, or you just start to feel more like roommates than partners. But it doesn't have to stay that way. At the Mastering Marriage Institute, we believe your marriage is worth fighting for, and healing is possible. That's why we've created our brand new virtual marriage workshops led by a licensed mental health therapist with over 20 years of clinical experience. This isn't your typical marriage advice or one-size-fits-all content. These 2-day workshops are interactive, deeply practical, and rooted in both biblical truth and real clinical insights. Whether you're newly married or decades in, this is your chance to take intentional steps towards a stronger and healthier marriage. But here's the catch. Space is limited to just 30 couples in our first cohort, so every couple gets the attention and support they need. So don't wait until things get worse. Visit masteringmarriageinstitute.com today to register and secure your spot. That's masteringmarriageinstitute.com. Your marriage is worth the investment. Let's take the first step together.
Okay, so by now, you have most likely qualified yourself based on one or many of those aforementioned mirrors. Now, I want to briefly, and I do mean briefly, talk about how shame impacts the marriage. And I want to give you 4 ways that shame can impact your marriage. Now, this is important because if you have qualified yourself, now I want you to start looking at the ways that this impacts and impedes your marriage. So the first way that shame can impact your marriage is this. Shame makes the marriage and your spouse responsible for fixing in the present the broken pieces of you that your past produced. See, we often bring with us our brokenness from our past, and we put them on full display in the present, and we're expecting our marriage, again, this is subconscious, but we're expecting our marriage to fix those things that are broken. This is why we say things like, I want you to complete me, or you complete me, or you're my better half, right? We're often looking to fill those holes with the things that our spouse bring with them to us that we feel we need from them. So again, shame makes the marriage and your spouse responsible for fixing in you what they did not break. Okay? That's important. Now, because of time limitations, I'm not going to sit here and talk about what to do with this. You're going to have to come visit me for that or come hang out at one of our weekend workshops. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want you to be thinking about that. Here's another way that shame impacts the marriage. Number 2, shame limits your ability to truly be loved by your spouse. After all, how can they truly see the real you if shame is your projection? See, we often aren't aware of what we are projecting. And so if we are projecting shame or shame-based actions and attitudes and thought processes, we aren't really showing our true self. And as a byproduct, you're going to find yourself feeling unloved by your spouse. Maybe it's because they don't know how to love you because they don't know how to love you. But maybe it's because they don't know how to love you because you aren't showing the person of you that needs to be loved by them. There's a distinction. Hopefully you get it. Sometimes they can't love you because you're not even positioning your true self to be loved. Okay? Because shame can limit how much of you show them. Often, shame will cause you to hide, to cover up, to produce a distorted perspective of who you really are. Let me go to the next one, number 3. Shame, I just used this word, shame distorts reality. And shame can cause you to misread what your spouse is actually saying to you. Shame can cause you to hear things that they did not say because you're constantly interpreting gaps, filling in the information. You will tend to interpret things in a way to confirm the shame that is protecting you. Yes, your shame is often protecting you. And as humans, we're usually looking for confirmation in all of the things, all the areas of our life. So you guys have probably heard of confirmation bias. That's what it looks like, right? If I'm outside with you and I say, hey, look at that cloud. It looks like Mickey Mouse. And in your mind, you're like, nah, that don't look like no Mickey Mouse. But in my mind, I have to confirm that to be true. So I'm seeing that even though it may not even look like that, okay? The same can be the case in the marriage. You just rejected me. You just rejected a bid. Well, maybe you didn't, but maybe my shame is distorting your actions, okay? Causing me to hear something that you did not say. Causing you to read too deeply into something that they did not say. And trust me, I see this all the time in marriages. Number 4, here's just the 4th way. There are more than 4 ways, by the way, guys, but I just want to give you 4. Here's another important way that shame can impact your marriage is shame causes you to live in a perpetual state of coping. Oh, this is a good one. Emotions like anger, anxiety, depression, self-pity, defensiveness, even something like complex PTSD, right? These things become how you react to conflicts in your marriage instead of using healthy coping skills and healthy coping tools. As a matter of fact, if you are wrestling with shame, you probably don't have a lot of healthy coping tools because you've gotten so used to using shame as a way to protect you. And so that becomes a perpetual state of coping. Some people who struggle with shame find themselves often in a perpetual loop of drama and conflict. Something always is going on, some issue, some unresolved situation, some new situation, but there's always something coming up every day, every week. It's often because they need this shame, this issue, because they're used to coping with it a certain way. And we don't like to abandon how we cope. Okay. So listen, I could stay there. I could go even deeper with this because this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I didn't want to, me coming back after a couple months, a lot of months of off the air. I didn't want to overwhelm you guys with a lot of information. I just wanted to say I'm back in. I'm back in the booth. So I will most likely spend a whole other session, whole other episode just to cover these 4 things and probably add to those. Now, if I had more time, I would go deeper, but I want to spare you guys. But instead, I invite you to reach out to me if you'd like to go deeper with this concept. Like if you're wrestling with shame and you've seen it show up in your marriage, you maybe have complex PTSD or some other issue that's just plaguing your marriage, plaguing how you show up, reach out to me. If you don't want to wait until I do another episode, I implore you to email me directly at david@marpe, M-A-R-P-E, services.com, and you can get on my calendar. And I know many of you guys have reached out and you've often said, hey, Dave, man, it's tough to get a hold of you. It's because I've been busy, y'all. I've been very busy. And I've been busy working with many of you guys. Many of my listeners reach out and they get on the calendar. So keep doing that. In the meantime, though, I want to give you an action item. For your action item, I want you to answer these 2 questions. There are only 2, okay? I want you to answer these questions. Number 1, what mirrors have caused the most shame in my life? Now, I just only went through a few, right? Your parenting mirror, Hollywood culture and social media, school and education, church, right? Those are just a few mirrors. There are more, but of those that I mentioned, have any of those caused shame, and to what degree? And then number 2, of the 4 ways that shame can impact your marriage, which of those ways are relevant to you in your marriage? So those 4 ways that I went over of how shame impacts the marriage, which of those are relevant to you and your marriage? Okay. And I just want you to focus on those 2 questions. Okay. Just focus on those 2 as your action item. So let's do this because I want to wrap up here, but I just want you to know, I want to spark a deeper level of self-awareness right now. We don't have to go deeper into the solutions yet. I want you self-aware. I want you thinking about these things. The healing and the growth will come. It'll come. Trust me. But I want you to be more aware of where this impacts you the most. Okay? Well, here's what I'll do. I'll wrap up here. Just know that it is my desire that both you and your spouse use this information to take your marriage to the next level. But remember, you only get out of your marriage what you put into your marriage, not what you want from your marriage. So get to work putting in the work. Anyway, guys, I just want to say thank you for coming into your session at the Marriage Counselor's Corner. Join me in the next episode where we're going to talk about another very important topic that you don't want to miss out on. Also, please remember, visit our brand new website. I hope you like it. I hope it's beautiful. I hope you can go through it and understand it much more seamlessly. I hope everything works out for you. I want you to visit the website. I want you to go down, scroll down a little bit on the homepage, and I want you to sign up for our brand new weekend marriage workshops. These are something that we're excited to, offer the general public because people have been asking, how can we work with you guys in this capacity? So now we've finally opened the doors. Okay. So I don't want you to delay in your registration. Okay. Because it's based off of first come, first serve. So only 30 couples can spend this time with us at first. And then we'll expand it to more in our next couple. Okay. Finally, we are providing a resource that many of you have been requesting. So go to masteringmarriageinstitute.com. That's masteringmarriageinstitute.com to sign up today. Also, remember to subscribe to the podcast, leave me an honest rating and review, and I will thank you when you do that. That way, other individuals can have access to these episodes. Okay? And I'll greatly appreciate that. Anyways, go out there and be smart, be intentional, stay out of trouble, and I'll talk to you soon. Deuces.
Thanks for stopping by for your seat on the couch at the Marriage Counselor's Corner. Remember, go to marriagecounselorscorner.com to schedule your next session. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss a session. We look forward to having you back on the couch soon. Bye-bye now.